Pandemonium Reigns.
Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to Pandemonium Reigns. My name is Dan. That's my boy Mike. Say hi, Mike.
What up?
We got a special guest in the house today. We had such a great experience last Friday with my buddy Ryan Phillips. We decided to bring another bro on, but this bro is more than special. He goes way back, way back. Back to a group chat that probably started, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago at this point. This is my boy, JP. Say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing, man? Life good? All well?
Can't complain. Life's treating me well. You know, getting ready for another season of college football. Let's do it.
Yes, Lord.
Yes, sir. So if you guys are listening on the podcast, not on YouTube, JP is an Alabama fan, and we're strictly bringing this guy on because to the people, we are more than just Tennessee. We talk way more than just Tennessee. Spent a whole episode last week on Georgia talking nothing but Alabama today. And it even pains me to say that the proper way. So used to saying Amabala. But anyway, here we are. Hey, JP, real quick before we get started, I got two questions I want you to answer.
Sure.
Kind of springing this on you. Just very quickly, I kind of know this story, but tell our listeners very quickly how you became an Alabama fan.
Ooh, that's a good question. So my dad's side of the family is from the great Tri-City area called Muscle Shoals. And so when you're born in Alabama, you come out of the womb a Bama fan or an Auburn fan. And luckily he chose the Tide with his entire family. And so and then my mom's side, we just love baseball. They're big Braves fans. So it's really just always been about Alabama and then the Braves. And you know, Dan, anytime you want to talk baseball, you just let me know, buddy. You just let me know.
You know, that's okay. I think I'd rather go to the dentist. We're good.
So inappropriate. So inappropriate for you.
Hey, JP, one more question for you. So,
sure.
Trivia, actually.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Do you have any idea why Tennessee fans care about the words Pandemonium Reigns? Do you know where that came from?
Ooh. It sounds like a John Ward call.
Ooh, my guy.
Maybe I couldn't tell you the year. Couldn't tell you the year. Sometime in the 90s, 80s, 90s.
Sometime in the 90s, the late 90s in particular.
Would that be let's see. Well, Manning was 4-0 against us. I'm going to go with the Manning year, 94, 95, 96, 97. Probably was it the first play of the game pass to was it Joey Kent in like 97?
That pass was to Joey Kent, but that's not where Pandemonium Reigns comes from.
Okay.
The year was 1998. Tennessee was hosting the Florida Gators. Score is 2017. Okay. Florida goes to kick a field goal, and they miss wide left. John Ward famously says, Tennessee 20, Florida 17. Pandemonium Reigns.
That's great.
Anyway,
that's good. That's a good piece. No, that's a good piece. Those Florida Tennessee games were always great in the late 90s. Early 2000s.
We lost most of those, so I mean,
but they were, objective. You know, they were good competitive games.
Yeah. Manning went 0-4, but you know what? Tonight, whenever you're listening, is not about Tennessee. We'll get that at the end. I'm going to ask you some Tennessee questions at the end, but let's talk Alabama. Let's talk Alabama. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through Alabama's schedule. And what I want you to do, this should actually go fairly quickly because I just think Alabama's got one of the easier schedules considering they probably are the best team in the country. But give me final score predictions. Let's talk a little bit about each game. You guys, if I remember right, you start off real tough. You got a tough home game hosting, I believe these people are half Mormons, but the Aggies of Utah State.
That's right.
How bad is this one going to be?
You know what? This is for Mike more than anyone, but I think the line was yesterday minus 38.5 with a total of 68.5. So I think we cover, but we hit the under. I think it's gonna be something like 49-10, something like that. I really think in a game like this, Nick is going to care more about line play, and he's going to try and kind of get the O-line to gel especially in the running game. I think that's going to be a focus this year for our squad, and that'll come up later throughout the show tonight. But we have new offensive line coach from Kentucky, Eric Wolford, and all things considered, and all things that I've heard have been extremely positive with respect to the way he coaches and the guys buying in, especially coming from Doug Marrone, who I'm not sure did anything more than sit in a corner with a cup of coffee for 2 years. So, we'll see what happens. But I think that first game is going to be about, building cohesion on the line. And
Okay.
So I've got 49-10.
Okay. All right. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, that's a good ballpark. I mean, Utah State, that's you like the way that sets up before at Texas. And you like this matchup no matter what. So yeah, I'm going to say similar ballpark, 52-6 Alabama.
52-6.
Yeah.
I said 51-10, but I like that you mentioned a new O-line hire for you guys, because if I remember right, you guys allowed 42 sacks.
Yeah.
Last season.
Which is something to say, considering Evan Neal was your left tackle. I mean,
I was going to say, I think half of those sacks were in the third and fourth quarter of that national title game when you guys had absolutely nobody left.
Correct.
On offensive front. But anyway, yeah, Utah State, what a banger we got there. Well, you probably have next week is what people are some calling game of the year, and I just don't see that. Before I get your predictions, win on ESPN, FBI, this is your lowest chance. You've got 99%, 99%, 88%. This game at Texas, you're rocking a low 75.3% chance of winning this, which is so what ESPN is telling us is this is your toughest game on the schedule. And I don't buy that at all. I don't think this is your toughest game on the schedule. Even now that we know Sarkisian has named Quinn Ewers a starting Q for those guys, how do you see this one unfolding?
Well, my first question is, does Sarkisian have a gun to the back of his head? Because there's no way that they were going to pay that kid whatever they're paying him for him to ride the bench for, is it Hudson Card?
Yeah.
Hudson Card.
Hudson Care Package Card. Can you send me some love? Yeah, I just really think so. I think it's right now plus 17.5. I think we cover. I've got that game at 56-17. I think Texas is a little going to be overrated because they're Texas. I mean, come on. That a lot of people have forgotten that they lost their leading receiver. I think he tore his ACL last week. I think they've also lost maybe someone on the OL, maybe their center. I can't remember. I know. I think I saw something show up that said, hey, they've had 2 massive injuries, and plus they're not used to playing a team like Alabama when it comes to the defensive line. I just think that we'll smother them. Now, Bijan Robinson, he's legit, probably top 3 back in the country. But I really just don't think he's going to be given that much room to run. And unless Quinn Ewers is, the second coming of Zach Calzada, I'm not really worried about this game, to be honest, even with it being at Austin. The hardest part of this game is going to be the noon kick in Austin. Maybe 100 degrees or something. So
yeah. I think that maybe the better question is how does Bijan finish in stats? I can see him going like 18 attempts, 48 yards, something like that.
Yeah, and it just depends if Sark's going to run him out when the twos are out there in the third and fourth quarter. If he's gonna get like Nick Chubb yardage and break his 100-yard record that year in like 15, down 38-10 or whatever. You got a long run there at the end. I don't know what they're gonna stack it for him that way, or I just don't think we may struggle a little early gelling. We got new receivers, new offensive line. So, but hopefully we get all that sorted out in the Utah State game, and we're able to really buckle. I think the guys are going to be motivated. I hope they don't look past the Utah State game, but they're motivated for this one. Let's be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't see this one being close at all. I picked it at 42-24. What say you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, Bama gets to 50 if they want to. I think so. I could certainly see it going over. With it being so early, I still don't think Texas is going to put up a great fight defensively. So I think it would be Bama ironing out those things that you guys have mentioned and that we've talked about. If if there's any slowdown. But again, I'm going to say like 56-17. I think Bama goes over 50 if they want to. And I think that defense is just going to wear that offensive line out. And it's going to be tough for Bijan and whoever they name at quarterback there, whoever they play. And certainly losing Isaiah Nayor, and I think it was an offensive lineman in that scrimmage there. That's tough. I mean, you get big transfers like Nayor. Doesn't matter, It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were expecting him to go for 1,000, be the guy for them. And, Sark's he's going to do his thing. He's going to have some stuff drawn up. They're definitely going to try to abuse, running back on linebacker coverage out of the backfield, run some complicated wheel routes. But in the end, I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, this is a similar conversation that we have with Ryan and how Dan Lanning might be able to have some kind of advantage over Oregon. However, I don't think it matters what Sarkisian knows about Alabama, even if he knows the plays coming. I can imagine Bryce Young, under center or in the gun, whatever, pointing to where he's either going to run it or throw it, and it just not mattering. Anyway, let's bang through these next two. You host ULM and you host Vandy. I got you romping ULM 63-10 and turn around doing the same thing to Vandy 56-7.
Hey, now wait a minute. Let's not forget Louisiana Monroe. That's a revenge game, brother. That's a big revenge game. They beat Saban in 07. He's coming for blood.
Oh, okay. I thought I was like, wait, is this sarcasm? Is that what this is? Okay.
I mean, it is a little sarcasm
to an extent.
I was like, revenge game. Are you saying if by chance Texas pulls off that upset?
No,
okay.
no.
Yeah. Well,
you better believe he holds that close to his chest. I mean, Saban, that's an L against the Monroe boys down there.
Well, I've got it as a 53-point victory. What else do you want me to do?
No. That you're right. I had 63-7. So yeah, we're right in line. We're right in line.
Any other comments on ULM and Vandy, Mike, JP?
Boredom at certain points of those games.
Yeah, I mean, Vandy at home is going to be 56-3, something like that. He's going to call off the dogs. He's not going to. He knows what Vandy's dealing with. He's not going to, run it up on them.
Yeah. I mean, boring. Moving on.
Yeah.
You do have a nice little 4-game stretch that will at least get the media talking. At Arkansas, home at A&M, at Tennessee, home against Mississippi State. I've got this Arkansas game as a 14-point difference. Do you think you pull up the win? I can see this final score, not really being a great depiction of how the game unfolds. It might look like a 14-point win, but it's probably going to feel like a 28-point, At Arkansas, 45-31 is my vote. What say you guys?
So I have a similar thinking. I've got Arkansas 38-21, Alabama winning. You're right. This is going to be our first big test. I think this will be a closer game than the Texas game. Arkansas lost a lot. They lost Burks. I mean, he was basically, when they wanted to push a button and get some offense, that's where they went. I think they had a cornerback drafted, like Brown, some kid named Brown or something, who was really good for them. He wasn't a shutdown corner, but he was gonna, make it difficult for the starting quarterback if if the opponent had a good receiver. So, but they're physical and they're big. KJ Jefferson, he's a stud. He reminds me a lot of Dak Prescott. I think that's a fair comp. Maybe not as good a passer as Dak was, but definitely a better runner. And that their line, physical, big guys. They're all upperclassmen. It'll be a tough game. So one thing that's interesting to look out for. Last year for Alabama, Dallas Turner was kind of the freshman surprise. He's the stud that flanks Ryan Anderson on the weak side. And when Chris Allen got hurt, who was our starter at the beginning of the year last year, we put in a kid named Drew Sanders. And he had a great 3 or 4 games. Allen got hurt in the first 2 games. Drew Sanders came in, played well, was very competitive at the position, made some great plays. And then he hurt his shoulder, and he's transferred to Arkansas, and he's now their starting weak side linebacker. So he's going to be amped for the game, guaranteed. Sure. And he's a talented player, and so that'll be a kind of a fun thing to look out for in that game.
I'm not so sure that matters. You might have Jesus amped for this game. I don't know that it matters. I think if I want to get to you here in just a second, Mike, but I think if Arkansas has any chance of winning this game, they're going to have to get KJ Jefferson out of the pocket, moving the pocket, and they're going to have to win a crap ton of 50-50 balls.
Yeah, and I think turnovers too. If they win the turnover
battle. Yeah. There's just several things that have to fall into place. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, no, like if we're looking, if I ran the FPI that you mentioned a minute ago with Texas, this would definitely rank high. This would be tougher than the Texas game. It's at Arkansas as well, like the Texas game is on the road. But still, I'm agreeing with a lot of what y'all are saying. They would need so many dudes, I think, for this to really, really be a game, even kind of like it was last year. When we started talking about scores, what popped in my mind was something like 45-28.
Okay.
And I think it could be ugly at times with them kind of, cutting it closer later on. But obviously, that's still a 17-point win if that plays out. So they need dudes, and they just don't have the depth that Alabama does, I think. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, ESPN has got this game as an 88% chance of winning. I compare that to the Texas percentage, and I laugh and giggle. You guys return home to host Texas A&M. And listen, if there is anybody on this schedule that I don't want to be, and this includes Vanderbilt and ULM and Auburn and Austin Peay, if there's anybody that I do not want to be on this schedule, it's Texas A&M. I don't want to be these guys. This is about to get ugly. I don't have A&M anywhere close in this. This might sound crazy to a lot of people. 52-14. I think Saban puts his foot on the throat, and he never takes it off. What about you guys?
Yeah, I've got a 44-10 win. I mean, listen, this is a revenge game. After all the preseason stuff that went down between Saban and Jimbo, there's an extra flair. There's going to be some angst, and but at the end of the day, A&M lost a ton on defense. They replaced Mike Elko with DJ Durkin. Defensive coordinator. New defensive coordinators, especially when you lose a lot of leadership on the defensive side of the ball, you're kind of waiting to see who that alpha is going to step up. And they lost some players on the D line and linebacker, so they're replacing quite a bit on defense. And freaking Weidemeyer, man, the guy that catches every third down pass for them, he's gone on offense too. So, and who's going to be their starting quarterback? Is it Haynes King?
Haynes King, yeah.
Hey, listen, right? Will Anderson saying, "Wait till I get my hands on you, brother."
Well said.
He's the father of 2 children. No, wait, 3.
That's right.
2.
That's right. There would be no way of knowing. Let's be honest. The other.
You don't want to be anyone on this schedule. You don't want to be Texas A&M.
I'm telling you.
One of the biggest shockers of last year was that Jimbo called that shot of we're going to kick their butt or whatever he said out of context there and kind of keeping it PG. That was the biggest shocker of that win to me. But man, this could get ugly, and I'm sure it will, because I don't think this is one where you call the dogs off as early. If you get to that point, I'm saying 55-13.
Yeah, I think he may call the offensive dogs off, but that defense is going to be they're wanting to play that full 60. Give me until the final whistle blows, or they're going to want to pad stats. So
absolutely. I heard an interesting take this week. I forget who I was listening to, but they came out and said that Jimbo is just a bad head coach. He is not a good head coach, considering the how well he has recruited to turn out an 8-4 record. Quick thoughts on that, Jimbo? Is he the guy for this job?
He was very fortunate that he got to play Auburn in a national championship game. I mean, any other team, they probably lose that game, especially, because what's his name? Can't see. I mean,
Jameis.
Literally can't see. Yeah, Jameis.
Famous
Jameis. He literally can't see. As far as coaching, I really think he is a really good offensive coordinator 15 years ago. And he's a good recruiter. Game day decision making, he doesn't wow me. Even really putting together, if you watch that game last year, it's really not about the game plan that he put together. We just gave him the game. I mean, we just gave it to them. Turnovers. We didn't call a great game. Bill O'Brien didn't call a great game. And it was, of course, some of our players were injured. You know, there was a lot going on in that game. And full credit to A&M. It's a hard place to play. It's a great atmosphere. I think it was a night game. So, you know, credit to them for getting it done and getting the win. But we didn't. We played it. That game almost felt like watching 2015 Ole Miss, where it was just like it didn't matter what we did. We couldn't get anything done. So
2015 Ole Miss, that's where Kelly kind of throws it up, and it has the luckiest bounce you've ever seen, right?
Throws up the pass as he's falling backwards.
Yep.
And Stringfellow catches it off a helmet and scores. And it was just, and we'd come back. We had like 5 turnovers that game, and we'd come back to almost tie it. So anyway.
Well, regarding Jimbo, the one thing I want to say about him before we move on, you said they got quite lucky to play Auburn in that title game. I think he just got luckier with landing Jameis Winston. And I don't know if you know this, but Mike and I have developed a bit of a crush on him lately. I mean, the guy is quite the poet, you know.
He is. He knows how to code a phrase.
I said,
he does.
We said, I said, you strong? They said, I'm strong if you strong. And I said, we strong. So anyway, you guys go back on the road. I cannot believe I have that memorized.
That's like that. It's like that Quentin Williams video where he sneezes and then he blesses himself. It's the same.
Yeah.
Bless me.
Yeah. That dude's got a handful of some banger quotes as well. He's hilarious.
He does. He's a stud. Yeah.
So you come you get back on the road after thumping Texas A&M, which we're all in agreement there. And you head to Knoxville. You know what? This is our show. We're Tennessee fans. You go first.
Oh, there you go. So I think this is a trap game. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's emotional high, and it's third Saturday in October. Alabama should get up for it every year.
Should,
but you know,
I can see why if you don't though.
Big emotional win. You know, underestimating Tennessee, it could happen, and so I really think that this game is going to come down to if you can make Bryce feel uncomfortable, and if Hooker can get out of the pocket and make some plays down the field, but you know, really force our linebackers to be less downhill, then really anything can happen at Knoxville. I mean, if you get out and score 14 points early, it's a game, man. It's a game. So I've got it 38-28 Alabama, because I think you got to figure out how to replace Alante. Cade Mays, whatever. I'm sure you've got a guy to fill in the gap there.
Well, Cade Mays spent most of that year injured. He was
correct.
I mean, his last year at Knoxville has an asterisk next to it.
Right. Yeah. And then you lost Velus Jones, who's a stud. Gave you a lot of back end speed. So where are your points, where your yardage is going to come from at wide receiver? And I expect that to develop over the first 6 games of the year. So you're going to have an answer by then, good or bad. And we're going to have the same questions about our wide receiver core. You know, I mean, we're replacing 2 guys.
You're so kind. Well, are you though?
We have talent. Yes, we have talent, but a lot of it's unproven. I mean, we're losing like 80% of our receiving yards, and the 20% come from tight ends.
Is this not the story of Alabama since Saban's been hired, though? I mean, we never know who the guy is or what his name is, but he's fair. You are the kings of reloading. This is just kind of what you do.
It's true. And I'll give you a name or two later, but you're right. No, you're right.
Okay.
I really think the game plan here, though, is going to be about establishing the run, getting Gibbs out, doing his thing. He's great out of the backfield. He's tough between the tackles. Probably one of the first 3 down backs we've had, maybe since TJ Yeldon. He's more elusive than Yeldon, probably, but and trying to extend drives, because we know the best way is to get y'all in 3 and out and then to wear your defense out. I mean, that's got to be part of the game plan. So,
yep. So you said 38-28, right?
Yeah, I have 38-28 Alabama.
Okay, Mike.
I'm just a hair higher on the final margin on that. I actually, like, my gut today, for whatever reason, instead of Tennessee's and the kind of hot starts that we had last year against even like Alabama scoring some points early, against Georgia scoring early, and then we know how it went in some lesser opponents. But my gut today is like 41-28 Alabama. I think Alabama actually starts a little hotter. Maybe they cool off, maybe they don't. If they don't, they could certainly go over 50, I think, again, like last year. But yeah, that's just where my gut's at today. 41-28 Bama.
Yeah, I landed this one at 41-31, a 10-point difference, very similar to JP's final score. I see this as the same way that I see Arkansas, though. I see a 10-point difference when the clock hits 0, but I think the game is going to feel – I don't think it's going to feel that close. I don't think it's going to feel that close. It terrifies me getting into these 3-and-out situations. You're talking about being able to keep your run in check, and – defensively, I don't like that. I mean, do you feel the same way, Mike?
Yeah, no, I do. I don't, there's just not many matchups to like here unless the ball's just bouncing Tennessee's way that day. That's just really how that's where I'm at today.
Yeah.
I mean, the ball is going to have to bounce the right way. Tennessee will be a tad fresher than Alabama. This is before Alabama's bye, and Tennessee, though they will have traveled to Death Valley the week before, they're coming off the bye the week before that. But still, that's just how I kind of see it shaking out today. Too many question marks still for me to think it's closer than that. And I think even though I'm saying 41-28, I agree with what you're saying. It won't feel like a 13-point loss for Tennessee. It'll feel like a 20 plus point.
Yeah, which is hopefully an improvement from last year, because I think the bottom fell out of us in the fourth quarter, and it was a 28-point difference. But it still feels much closer than 28 points.
Correct.
It did.
Yeah. It was a competitive game. I mean, there were times when I say competitive game, insofar as the previous 5, 6, 7 years, where it was clear you guys just would fold in the second half. And there was no quit in that team last year, regardless of what the score indicated. So, which is a direct representation of your head coach.
Yeah.
So,
well,
this
go ahead.
I was going to say, this is also the Byron Young game. We can't forget that.
Oh,
that's true. Two of them. That's weird.
Byron Young versus Byron Young, and they both play like he's defensive end, right?
Yeah,
ours is a defensive end. It's wild.
Yeah. Hey, if yours wants to transfer to us, we'll take 2 of them. I'm cool with that.
No qualms.
No qualms at all.
Sacked by Byron Young, part 2.
Yeah. So we all see that pretty similar out there. So far, we're all on the same track, and we're more than halfway through the season here. You return back home to Tuscaloosa for an interesting game. What I think is an interesting game for you guys, hosting Mississippi State. I got you guys still winning this one, though, 42-21. I feel like Leach will be able to throw some stuff at you guys that day or night that you probably haven't seen on film. He's that guy that just loves these type games, loves these situations, loves to try to stick it to the man. And right now, you guys are the man. So 42-21 is what I say. What about you guys?
This is probably the first time I feel like we've kind of diverged. I really just think Nick hasn't figured out. Like, the game the last year was not competitive, and it's Will Rogers who's still throwing the pigskin around. I mean, he's okay, I guess. I was looking at their depth chart the other day, and their wide receivers they don't really scare me too much. They're not going to run the ball. They're one-dimensional, and they play into our strength, which is rushing the passer. So you're right. They may get – I've got 52-17. They may get, 7. They may get 24 points, but I just don't believe they'll be able to stop us.
Well, the only difference I think you and I are seeing is you've got 52-17. I've got 42-21. Either way, they score on 3 possessions. I just see the third one as in the end zone, and you see it as a field goal. Mike, what you got?
This comes at an absolutely terrible time for Mississippi State. It's a 4-game stretch of hosting A&M, hosting Arkansas, going to Kentucky, and then going to Tuscaloosa. That's a horrid stretch, and I agree. These games haven't been terribly competitive with Leach's state team since he's been there. 49-17 is what I'm going to guess, because they are going to do those things. I mean, they're going to play into Alabama's strengths. They're going to run 6 variations of mesh that will be figured out by halftime if they weren't figured out before the game starts. So 49-17. I like Rodgers, but I don't like this matchup at all.
Okay.
Yeah. And while our cornerbacks are we bring back Kool-Aid and we bring back a guy who played some last year. Our safeties are stout. They're both 2-year starters. And so, where those mesh routes might be confusing for some, we should have it figured out, like you said, by the second half.
I see Alabama being able to blow everything up at the point of attack.
Yeah.
You get a bye week after. I don't know that I want to call it a difficult 4-game stretch, but more
intriguing.
Difficult. Yeah,
you throw an injury in there, and anything can happen. I mean, injury or two. I mean, that's very likely. You lose some of your OL gelling.
Sure. It's at least more difficult than Utah State, Texas, ULM, and Vandy.
Correct.
Granted.
Correct.
You get the bye week, and then you head down to the Bayou to play the Bayou Bengals. I've got you guys winning this 35-14. Brian Kelly is scratching his head with his cowboy hat, and he's working on his accent, and he's eating a pot of jambalaya. And he's looking for a glass of milk because it's too spicy. So 35-14 tied.
UNs did a great job today.
My gosh. Okay, before you answer this, how much long is he the long-term guy at LSU?
I think so. I think he's going to do well there. I do. I don't think it's going to be next year. I think when he gets his guys. So, one thing about him where he's Cincinnati kind of took a team that, of course, old Butch had, and then or rather Butch followed him. Butch followed him. You're right. Yeah.
He kind of built Butch that credit.
You're right.
Stop it.
That's true. I'm a big Butch fan. You're right. He gave Butch a good team, but he developed that program, and he kind of pulled Notre Dame out of the Weiss era, which is pretty trash. And we could even go into depth about the Manti Te'o doc, but maybe another time. Anyway, but he's a good coach, and he's a good coach insofar as he's hired some good people. He's had some good defensive coordinators. I think he makes good hires, but I think his players play for him. Now, the real question is, what's he going to do with LSU's talent? He could only get so much at Notre Dame, regardless of what people say about Notre Dame. They're still limited, and they're Notre Dame, so they're kind of inherently trash. But he's going to get some dudes at LSU, and for me, it's going to be, will he ever be able to develop a quarterback there? Because dudes like Boutte come around every year. I mean, you think about LSU wide receivers over the years. I've got this game 45-17 because they've just lost so much the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But I think next year, I think he's perennially going to be 8-4, 10-2 type guy once he gets the ball rolling. And then there's going to be some years maybe where he gets a guy and he makes a run for it. And the only reason why I say 17 is because Boutte is probably worth 14 of that. He's just unbelievable. So we'll see. We'll see what the defense is like, totally full of transfers. We'll see if they're able to gel. But they've just lost a ton.
Okay. All
right. Yeah. And for me, I just don't like their quarterbacks. I mean, Jaden Daniels in the Pac-12 versus Jaden Daniels in the SEC is, that could just go very poorly. I don't know a ton about Nussmeier. I'll give you that. But, I'm thinking like 42-9 for this game. I don't even know if they get into the end zone or if they get 3 field goals for that matter. But I don't see them doing a lot offensively in this game. It'll take some turnovers to really move the ball and have some things go their way. But just don't like their quarterbacks. But I could see it working out long term if they'll be patient to weather this transition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so both of y'all said something that I want to hit very quickly. Mike, you mentioned Nussmeier. Didn't he retire? Isn't he done?
It's Nussmeier's kid, I think.
Oh, okay. Miles Brennan. Okay.
Yeah,
Miles Brennan medically retired or retired once he didn't get the job, what have you. But Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah. See, I thought you were talking about like Nussmeier, the offensive coordinator, which was at Alabama. Then he went to Michigan. I don't even know if he's got a job, but I think it's his son.
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Son or nephew, but I think it's son.
Yeah. And then JP, you raved a little bit about Boutte, and if I remember right, either 247 or ESPN put him all SEC first team and Cedric Tillman's second team. And I try not to just look at numbers, but the numbers pop off for Tillman, and they don't for Boutte. Tillman had a year. Not that Boutte was bad, but
sure.
So do you like Boutte more than Tillman?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you have to think about
nope, your time on the show's done. We're good. I'm kidding.
Well,
Fine,
we'll
go
see.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, we'll see. We'll see the draft. Hey, we'll see in the draft. We'll see in the draft. Was Tillman got 2 years left, or is he going to leave after this one?
I think he could return with COVID eligibility, but he's gone. I think it was a tough decision this year. And I think he was smart to come back. You know, I would say that a lot of times when kids fall, but I think he was smart to come back, but he made a decision this year, and I don't see him coming back, even if he does have that COVID year available.
Yeah.
So last year he had Max Johnson, and was it the kid that transferred from? No, maybe he's at Auburn. He transferred from LSU to Auburn.
TJ Finley.
Yeah, Finley. I mean, dude,
coaching. Like, you know, they fired a
he's
coach.
He's had no one. Yeah, he's had no one to throw to him. There was rumor he was going to transfer to Alabama before we got the kid from Louisville, Harold. Harold. Yeah, Harold. Yeah, so I think I really wanted him. Like, Ricks was coming, so Ricks is coming from LSU. He's, you know, their best cornerback. I was hoping Butte would come too, because, dude, I mean, you watch the film on him, he's unreal. He's unreal.
Sure, but Tillman did more.
Yeah, but Tillman had a guy who could complete. I mean, okay, here's what it's like. It'd be like,
no, I don't need to justify it. Tillman did more.
It'd be like, okay. All right, fair. Hey, we'll see.
No. Go ahead.
No. I mean, you think about it. Like, he had basically Ja'Cory Harris throwing the ball to him, and then Hooker's a better quarterback than anything that LSU's had since Matt Flynn. Okay. We'll go Burrow. It's excluding Joe Burrow.
I was like, wait a second.
Like, sure.
Yeah, excluding Joe Burrow, but since Matt Flynn, I mean, I think maybe Mettenberger. I'll give Mettenberger I'll throw him out there. He could play.
Mettenberger just didn't have any knees.
Right. Yeah. Him crawling off in Tuscaloosa is one of my favorite mental images. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I think. I just got a lot of love for Butte. He seems to burn us every year, and we got good CBs. So
yeah,
you know.
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's somebody I would love to have in Orange, but he's not. He's in the Bayou. Anyway, with that said, let's move on. After the Bayou Bengals, you're on the road again to Oxford. The Rebels, Mississippi, the Fighting Lane Kiffins. I got you guys winning this one 42-20. Large in part because it doesn't sound like Jackson Dart has won that job. It sounds like it's defaulting to Altmaier. Anyways, thoughts?
Which is crazy. I mean,
right?
Everyone thought Dart was going to be the guy at USC until
he wasn't.
Until Oklahoma decided to go to USC. I don't really understand that, but whatever. So here's the thing. Matt Corral was a problem. I mean, he's a problem for a lot of teams. Luckily, Kiffin decided to eat a whole bucket of popcorn before our game and go for a fourth down 9 times in a row. So it became an untenable position for them. And so I just don't think they have the offensive capabilities they did last year. They lose Jeff Lebby, and that's going to be a big loss as far as calling games, maybe not game planning. But I know Lane called the games, but you better believe Lebby was heavily involved in
ton of influence. Ton of influence from Lebby. Yep.
So I'm gonna go 45-24, and I normally wouldn't say that because we really struggle to play there. I don't know what it is about that stadium. Ever since, I guess it was 11 or 12 when I think it was 11 when Trent Richardson juked the pants out of that kid.
Yes.
That was the last time we really
still looking for his socks to this day. As the legend goes.
We hammered them there. And you know what? Credit to that kid. He came back and made a big play in the 14 or the 15 game. I think the 14 game. Anyway, yes, 45-24. You know, defense doesn't scare me. Replacing a bunch of guys. I just think we even when we struggle there, I think we'll be okay.
Agreed. Mike?
52-17 for me. They're reloading some defensive guys like y'all touched on. Lose their DC as well. Lose a guy like Corral. Lose Lebby. I mean, that is important. I mean, he's a good OC. Yeah. I don't think it's a very competitive game. Ugly game.
Yeah. I gave them 20, and that even felt like a stretch. I think they're going to struggle to not only find points, but struggle just to find yards in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, let's breeze to this next one. You're back home to host. I don't even know their mascot, and I'm kind of from that area. Austin P. I got that 63-10. What about you guys?
Let's go P on Austin P. I think the Governors.
The Governors.
That's it.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. So I've got 59-7. They'll get one in the fourth quarter or something against third, fourth string guys.
Garbage time.
Yep. Those are just the games you just don't want to see any injuries happen. Some freak non-contact.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Keep it clean. Get things ready for the postseason in Auburn. 56-10. Name your score.
Yeah, I agree with that. Name the score. Anyway, you finish out the regular season in the Iron Bowl hosting Auburn, and you know what? I ended up settling on 45-24 because I thought, there's no way that Auburn can even put up a fighting chance. But you know what? I thought the same thing last year. And what the heck happened there?
Dude, it's Jordan Hare Juju, man. I'm telling you.
He's a Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, you go back. I mean, heck, you go back to the 6 seconds game or the 1 second game, the kick six. You go back to, that was also the year that, they had the big play with Georgia. You go back to all these like 99-yard interceptions for touchdowns off the back of a wide receiver that hits a defender in there. It's just stupid stuff like that. But it's in Tuscaloosa, and really, honestly, I hope we embarrass that bunch. I just really hope that they run it up on him. I mean, Finley's going to be their starting quarterback, right?
Yeah,
looks that way.
Now. Yes.
I mean, maybe Calzada got there and he's like, "Wait, where's everybody going? Wait." But I beat Alabama. Yeah, no, somehow. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're going to have a defense. Like, they return a bunch of their guys on defense. But can they score? That's going to be the question. Can they score?
I kind of agree with the defensive thing, but they lost a linebacker with arguably one of the greatest nicknames ever in the Ricochet Rabbit in McLean. And that dude was so important to those guys.
Yeah.
Good, really important to those guys. And everything that he could do. But anyway, for a second there, that was a tough game to pick. But in the end, I went 45-24. Give me a final, JP.
I got 56-10.
56-10. Good gosh. Yeah. Okay. All right, Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to go like 38-14 only because the weirdness of the Iron Bowl. It's not a wider margin, or Alabama going over 50 again just because Iron Bowl weirdness. Definitely could.
Yeah.
Just what I'm seeing.
I would normally say that, but I think they're going to exercise demons from they're going to prove we can score at will on these guys. Last year was a fluke. And by then I think we should know what we have a wide receiver. We should know what we have on the offensive line. Yeah. We got backs coming out the wazoo. I mean, and like you said, they're going to be missing McLean. He really opened up their D line, opened up Papo, who had a pretty good year last year. He really you're right. He was a cog in that defense. So yeah, they've got some work to do. Listen, they're going to have to learn how to score. Yeah. I mean, what offense are they going to run with Finley? I mean, he's a drop back guy. He's not a zone read guy.
Right.
They're still converting that roster from a bunch of tweeners that can, operate in space. And I don't know. I don't know that he's probably not going to survive. I hope he does, because he's a dumpster fire. They're terrible. He replaced the whole internal staff with Boise State people. Like, they don't even know what sweet tea is. That's ridiculous. So I think they're trash, and I think it's going to show all year.
Well, I wish I could have gotten out of you, how you really felt about it. I felt like you withheld there, and I just want you to know, on Pandemonium Reigns, we just let anything fly, man. It's whatever you want.
It's healthy.
Finley last year, he was 17 for 26, 137 yards, 2 scores and a pick. You know what? I don't know how, with those numbers, they were that close to upsetting you guys with those numbers.
we forgot how to block that game. That was the game, like I said, where Doug Marrone was playing with an Etch-a-Sketch in the corner with a cup of coffee. I mean, he literally had, it was so bad.
Jameson went out with targeting on the punt play.
That's
right.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. That was a big play. Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of things that happened in that game, and to be honest with you, I was surprised we won. I mean, it was a crazy game. Game. All those OTs and
yeah. Mike, comments and final score.
I believe like I said, I think I'm feeling 38-14 just because of Iron Bowl weirdness.
Okay. 38-14. I couldn't remember your final score there. All right. So that obviously ends the regular season. We all got you guys at 12-0. Is the East really up for debate? I mean, it's Georgia, right? Really?
I don't think it's as simple as that. I don't. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Georgia. I think they reload as good as anybody.
Okay.
That's a lot to replace on defense. Okay. With the defensive coordinator gone. And I think their offense will be fine. It'll be fine, but their defense is not going to bail them out as much as last year. And a possession here or there over the course of the season and some of the games that they played could have made a big difference. And, they may go undefeated. I'm not sure who, I think they'll handle Oregon just fine. They'll run through the East. Is the Tennessee game in Athens or is it in Knoxville?
It's in Athens.
In Athens.
Yeah, so that'll be tough, but
well, give me an East winner and give me a final score prediction in Atlanta.
I'll take Georgia, just because I think you guys need to prove you can beat them. It wouldn't shock me if it's you guys, honestly. Would not shock me one bit.
Stop it.
If it's Tennessee. But I'll take Georgia for now, and I'll take a rematch, and I think we take care of business again. I'll say 42-27.
Okay, 42-27
in the SEC championship game in Atlanta.
In Atlanta, which leads me to one of the next questions I wanted to get to you. Mike, feel free to throw yours in there too. We haven't really talked about this, but I would love for you to throw this in there as well. So you guys that would not be an upset. You guys beat Georgia in Atlanta. Essentially, that would knock them out of the playoff for good. Would that lock them in at a 4 spot? Who is your final 4, JP? And then Mike, you follow him up.
Man, so I think, I think it's going to be Alabama. I think it's going to be Ohio State. The ACC just is so befuddling. Like they've got some good quarterbacks coming back, but is there a good enough team to get in there with one win? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think until Clemson can show that they can score more than 8 points a game with Ungalalele. Ungala not going to work here. Not going to work here anymore if it keeps it up.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Uiagalelei. Yeah. If he can't, if they can't get anything going with him.
Kate Klubenik.
And they're also, this hadn't really been talked about a lot, but they replaced a defensive coordinator who's been there forever and has been really the key to their success. A lot of people are going to say yes. Deshaun, once in a generation talent.
Sure. Trevor
Lawrence, who I still think is not that great. No progression from year 1 to year 4.
Okay.
Never been a Trevor Lawrence guy. Don't think he's going to succeed in the NFL. Doesn't matter who's coaching him.
Okay.
Never been high on the guy. No, like literally, you go back and watch. No growth. No positional growth from year 1 to year 4. I don't care what the guys on the NFL Network say. He succeeded in the ACC by throwing 50-50 balls up to receivers that were better than others. Go watch the LSU game again, see how many overthrows he has on timing routes.
Fair enough.
Not a big fan. So,
fair enough.
But with all that to say, I think this is a year where you could see 2 Big Ten teams get in. I think they're going to beat each other up some, but I think there's a potential, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be Ohio State, Michigan. I think Ohio State's there. We'll see.
Wisconsin out of the West?
maybe Wisconsin out of the West. They always
an
surprise.
11-1 Penn State.
Could be Penn State. I'm not high on Penn State actually. No. So maybe it is Michigan and Ohio State. We'll see. I just don't know that Harbaugh can get it done 2 years in a row with all they lost. I mean, they lost a ton on defense.
Recording video.
Maybe Sparty. You never know. Maybe Sparty.
I mean, maybe. I tell you what, though, I like this upcoming Michigan team more than I do last year's.
On offense, I'll agree with you. On defense, I don't know.
They're gonna have another elite pass rusher.
Yes, they will. They're from the middle of the line. Talking about the big DT. Yeah.
Whatever his name is. We don't pay too close of attention to the big.
Yeah, he's in here. No, you're right. He's a stud. I still think they've got an interesting schedule. They play some. I think they go to Iowa, which is always a nightmare for them. They, for whatever reason, can't win in Kinnick. Of course, the other reason why I say that's because the Big Ten is going to be inflated over the course of the season. They're going to be pushed pretty hard by the national media, even though ESPN's probably losing them. So the other option would be USC out of the Pac-10. I think they're probably gonna, or Pac-12, whatever they are now. I think they're probably gonna get in just because they don't literally play anyone. Like they're gonna play Utah, and that's it. So Utah has given them trouble in recent memory, but still they're as a one-loss team, they're going to get in just because of all that's happened in the last 6 months. But I don't think they're going to be competitive.
Okay.
Is this a year for another Group of 5 team? I don't know. Maybe.
I sure hope not.
I do too.
That conversation is exhausted.
Yeah, I'm not a big Group of 5. I mean, Cincinnati, they probably deserved to be in the conversation, but there's no way you can put Cincinnati up against Ohio State and say they're better.
Right.
Which is what the committee's job is to do. So I guess I've got Alabama, USC, Ohio State, and then the fourth. Let's just throw a weird one out. Let's go. Excuse me. Let's go Baylor. I'll go Baylor for my fourth.
Okay. All right, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, Baylor is a dark horse, if you want to say dark horse team that I kind of believe in. It's almost impossible for me to get to 3 and 4 because I think 1 and 2 are Alabama and Ohio State, and I just don't think it matters after that point.
Agreed.
Like, I just don't think it matters. Play a 14 playoff, play a 12-team playoff. I don't think it matters. So, I mean, I could see most of those teams. I mean, USC or Utah. Baylor, if they have another strong year, but I think your national championship, I feel very confident today saying that it's Alabama and Ohio State, with a lot of confidence. Georgia, I guess, has an outside chance of getting in, but it would be hard for me to see them if there's a bunch of 1 or 0 loss teams getting in off the heels of the SC championship, because I do think they win the East and they take a loss there rather large. So it's hard for me to see them getting in for a rematch, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm really torn on who the 4 are, but I feel good about the top 2.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Georgia, if they drop one in the regular season, they're out. And a lot of people don't talk about this last year, but I think Georgia is a Baylor goal line stand for not getting in. Honestly, the way they got embarrassed in Atlanta, I think 1 loss, conference champion Oklahoma State snatches that 4th seed, and it's totally different. So they're that Big 12 championship game was a great game.
Yes,
last
it
year.
was
really a great game last year. Yeah.
For me, there's a couple of different options. I'm a big believer in Utah. I really like those guys. They're always scrappy. To me, that's a team that I just do not want to play. I can see them getting that 3 spot. That 4 spot, I can see anybody from Michigan to an Oklahoma State. I would not be surprised if Oklahoma State blew through that schedule.
Yeah.
And finds a way into that 4 spot. I don't see it being a Group 5, and I really don't want it to be a Group 5. With that said, the playoff needs to stay at 4. Our champion is inside the 4, so we don't need to expand it to get all these other Group 5 guys in. If last year was not an indicator of how that's going to unfold, I don't know what is. But anyway, if Clemson gets in, I mean, gosh, that conference is just so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Did they get in on pedigree? No, I don't think so. I think they've lost so much favor the last year or two. Dabo's this offensive guru. And
is he though?
A guru. I don't know, man. I feel like that they're going to really have to change the outlook while replacing replacing a lot on the defensive side. I don't think it's going to be Clemson, though. No. Who's going to beat them? It's not going to be Pitt. Maybe Florida State. Is Miami going to be competitive? I think they just eat each other up. It's going to look like a typical Pac-12 year in the ACC where a bunch of pretty good teams beat each other up. NC State's going to be pretty good. They'll be competitive. We'll see. Wake Forest, they may sneak up on you. You never know. They got a great offense.
Do they though? Sam Hartman's out.
Yeah, he's out. But I mean, I trust Clawson. I think Clawson's a pretty brilliant guy. I really like him. I think even with Hartman out, they're not going to be like a top 10 offense. But if you can find a guy to chuck it around the yard, they'll play. They're going to beat somebody they shouldn't beat. I'll say that.
There you go.
We'll see. I'm not a believer in Clawson or Wake Forest. I think they struck lightning in a bottle with Hartman. That dude is legit.
Oh, he's legit, no doubt. No doubt, he's legit.
But anyway, there's a couple options there. And needless to say, we all agree about that number 1 and 2 spot. You got Bama winning it all?
I mean, yeah, I have to. Even, yes, I think the defense, we basically didn't lose anyone. And and they all got a year better. And then we'll have to replace wide receivers, and we have a better running back on campus than we've had in a long time. Offensive line is going to be an issue, but they'll have it figured out by then. And so, yeah, I got us as beating Ohio State in a close game. Hopefully a fun game.
Yeah. Mike and I have talked a lot about this. We just don't see anybody beating Bama. So with that said, when we talked through the schedule, you didn't seem like there's anybody that bothered you, that concerns you. Is there a team out there that you don't want to play? Does Ohio State scare you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, CJ Stroud's a stud. Najiba.
Jackson Smith, Najigba.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. I mean, they're stacked. They're loaded. I'm not as convinced they're a great defensive football team like they've been 2, 3, 4 years ago. They obviously have talent. One thing about last year is they had an injury here and there, and you could tell a distinct difference between the lack of depth from a Ryan Day team than you could from an Urban Meyer team. And I think as time goes on, that's going to perpetuate, and they're going to fall off eventually. But that offense is going to be good enough to beat anybody any day of the week. I just think our defense is the difference maker in a matchup like that.
Yeah. Well, so this is going to segue nice into the next question. I'm taking this basically from Mike's mouth. Mike says this is the best Alabama team under Saban. Agree? Disagree? Do I have that right, Mike?
You might have taken that from someone else, but I could certainly see it being because of. I'm not sure. I probably have said that just because of 3 people: Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and then insert depth and studs and recruiting.
Whoever the third guy you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think for me, if the 2016 team had a different quarterback, if Jalen Hurts had been a freshman, I think that's probably the best team that Saban's had. That defense is so filthy. I think we had 30 non-offensive touchdowns that year. Just absurd.
25 against us.
Yeah. I was at that game. That was a great game.
No, it wasn't.
It was a great game per se. But yeah, I think, top to bottom, this is probably a top 3 Saban team. That 2012 team was stacked. Now, a lot of people, the defense wasn't elite that year, but the offense was so good. That offensive line, I mean, would make holes that were just so good that Trent Richardson could have ran through it, had he still been there, since he has no vision. The 09 team gets talked about a lot. The 11 team gets talked about a lot because of the elite defense that it had, but you can't really compare that defense to a defense today.
Right. Especially since Bama played in that title game in 11. Matter of fact, twice when they were under Les Miles eating grass, running everything out of a phone booth.
Yeah, that's right. 2 yards in a cloud of dust. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is definitely his best team since 15.
Okay.
That has a chance to win. 15, 16. Definitely his best team since 16, I would say, easily.
Okay. So you didn't mention that 2020 team, which Mike and I are pretty high on.
Yeah, the 2020 team, that's a good point. 2020 team was really good. There were some holes on the defensive side of the football, though. A lot of big holes, and a lot of it started with the defensive coordinator. That 2020 offense is the best offense I've seen, bar none. Better than last year's offense. I would take that offense over last year's offense because Devontae, to me, it's the best season from a wide receiver I've ever seen. The guy, he would have had 350 yards in that natty if he hadn't broke his finger on the foot. I mean, just think about how ridiculous that game
would it have mattered? I mean,
no, obviously it didn't matter, but having 3 bills and a natty is pretty dope.
Sure.
Yeah. All around though, offense, defense, this is the best team since 16. Yes.
Okay. Well, before we move on, Mike and I, a bit of a crush on Devontae Smith. We were, don't get me wrong, we love the orange, but we were really happy to see that in that 2020 year, we felt like that was the guy to get the Heisman, that the voters finally got it.
They got it right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so often seen as a most valuable player, but it's not. It's like most outstanding. But anyway, educate us a little bit, my man. Give us a name on the defensive side for you guys. Not name Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, Battle. Is there a name out there that we need to know about, or that we will know by the end of the season?
I hope so. So I'm going to give you two names, situational names, then I'm going to give you a third guy that I'm pumped about. So Chris Braswell, he is Will Anderson's backup, but he is so good that they have made a pass rushing package for him on obvious passing downs. So they can't keep him off the field. So we're going to see what that looks like. So Chris Braswell, we have a true freshman named Jaheim Otis, came in about 420 pounds, lost about 65 pounds.
My gosh.
And he's going to be on the goal line formation. So, and he may end up playing into a role just depending on how effective he is, but
snapping or carrying, what's he going to be doing? I mean,
he's going to be defending the goal line. He's thinking the goal line is a pound of pancakes, and he's going to eat the pancakes and tackle the running back or the quarterback.
Yeah, for you listeners out there, that special package is called Aunt Jemima.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a stud. So they're really high on him. He's going to be the focal point of the goal line package. So he kind of reminds me of DJ Fluker when it comes to size. A little bit shorter than Fluker. Fluker's like 6'7", 340. But he's a man, and he's a true freshman. I mean, he came in as a true freshman. They showed there's a funny viral video of him walking out as a high schooler, walking out of the locker room being filmed, and it's got all his teammates before him, and it says, "Name that D1 prospect," and he has to turn sideways to walk through the door. It was funny.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, so I'm pumped about him just to see what he does, and then of course I'm really excited to see how Kool-Aid develops this year. Quincy McKinstry, cornerback. He's going to play a lot, and so I'm kind of excited to see his growth from year 1 to year 2 under Saban. See how he develops, because he's got all the talent in the world. It was just kind of putting it together.
Okay, all right, good stuff. So Mike and I were trying to put this together. We wanted to figure out how to ask you, and we started out by saying, what's the position group of concern for you? But then we thought, you know what, that doesn't quite do it justice. Is there a name out there, offensive or defensive side of the ball, that you might consider a liability or a name of concern? Is there a name that concerns you?
I'm going to say left tackle because replacing Evan Neal is, I mean, just not going to do it. I mean, he's going to be a cornerstone for the Giants for a long time. Was a dominating force. So we got a grad transfer from Vandy who's going to be starting Tyler Steen, and so he played well as you can play at Vandy. So he's probably the name that I'm like, okay, let's see how he protects Bryce from the blind side.
Fair enough.
And really the O-line in general, like I'm most concerned with after watching the last couple of years, giving up sacks, giving up tackles for loss. You know, our offense is not predicated on 2nd and 12. It's all about being 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6. And, you know, you opening up so many options when you're like that. And we had a lot of possessions of last 2 years, really start 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13. And the Auburn game is just a microcosm of that. So
yeah,
that'd be my pick.
Okay. All right, cool. We're going to throw some Bryce Young stuff at you real quick. Mike, I want you to partake in this as well.
Absolutely.
So we're going to basically take Bryce Young's stats from last year and ask you to give us the over or the under. Over or under, does he throw for 4,800 yards?
Under.
Oh, okay. Doesn't quite hit that.
Under.
All right, Mike.
I'm going over.
I think it's just an easy under. But go ahead.
It's an easy under.
I'm torn because of a guy like Gibbs for one, and then the things we've discussed as far as receivers, offensive line gelling. But I've told Dan a lot how much I like this kid, but I think he goes over. I mean, I think like there's no ceiling for this kid. I think he could easily do that. Easily is a stretch, but I think he could do that for sure.
Yeah, Mike has a bit of a man crush on Bryce Young.
That's fair. He's a stud. He's a stud.
Well, so do you say under though because there's no Jamison Williams, who I believe had 1,500 something for you guys?
I say under because it's no Mechie, no Williams, and I think we're gonna spend a lot of the season running the ball. I think we're gonna reestablish dominance in the trenches or attempt to. I mean, that's why we brought Walford in. I mean, look at Kentucky the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years. They are a team predicated on the run.
Okay.
So that's why I have him under. I mean, if he throws over 4,800 yards, that's going to say two things to me. We can't run the ball, and our defense, for whatever reason, is requiring Bryce to throw the football more than he needs to.
All right. I think it's a fair assessment. What about over under 66.9 completion percentage? So let's look at the passing game, but through a different lens.
Yeah, I'm going to take under here too. I think around 65%. And the only reason I'm going to do that is because he's breaking in new receivers. Timing on routes is going to be probably a challenge early on. And I think he's going to throw a lot of dump passes. The dude Mechie was so dependable in, 2nd and long and 3rd and long, 3rd down. He never dropped anything. I just think that the regression is going to be there.
Okay. All right. Mike, over or under?
I will go slightly under here. I won't put a exact percentage on it or anything, but I'll go under here as well. One thing about this, and it could just as easily push him over that, but if Alabama is running the ball more, if that means less attempts, it could come down to that if he just doesn't complete as many passes because of less attempts. That's just where I land on that one. But I could easily see it going over. I'm just going to lean under.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right, let's keep it moving here. 47 touchdowns, over under.
We'll take under again. I don't think under. I don't think he's going to throw for that many touchdowns. I just don't think the receivers are there yet. I think we're going to run the ball more.
Okay, back to the same answer. Okay, makes sense. Mike?
47 is steep. I'm going to go under on that as well. Again, Gibbs could lead some of those. It could be, again, developing receivers. I'm going under 47.
Okay. 7 interceptions, over under.
Taking the under there too.
Okay. Under.
He's a better passer. He's hopefully not going to be throwing into as many contested situations like sometimes he was forced to last year. So yeah, I've got the under. I'm thinking like I've got him at like 4,200 yards, 65%, 40 touchdowns, 5 picks. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's kind of year he's going to have.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, and I'm going under here just because of the man crush. That's, like I think he's a year better, a year older. It's basically the man crush here is why I'm going under.
Okay, all right. Man crush. JP, well, this is how we're going to end the show. Take the last few minutes of our time together here. Let's talk Tennessee just for a minute. That's about all the Alabama I can handle.
It's fair. It's fair.
So just
lasted longer than I thought.
So just a couple things here. What scares you most about us, and give us a final record for Tennessee?
I think the thing that scares me the most is obviously your offensive prowess. Getting ahead in games, 14-0, 17-0. I think that's the potential that your offense has. Especially playing in Neyland for us this year. Anything can happen there. So that would be my biggest concern. Now, whether or not you could maintain that, you get up 17-0 in the first quarter, your tendency is going to be to throw the ball more because you're trying to catch up quickly. Now, we'll see if something like that happens. But I would hope that the game plan would still be to try to establish the run, grind out some possessions, and score.
Okay. All right. Can you give me a final record for us?
Yeah, let me pull up your schedule here. I don't have it up.
Okay. Hey Siri, cue the Jeopardy music.
Yeah, so let's do Okay, so you open with Ball State? Come on, dude. It's a Thursday night game. It's be a sleeper. It's 1-0. I like y'all beating Pitt at home, 2-0, Akron 3-0. I think you get Florida this year, 4-0. I think you beat LSU only because they're not great this year, 5-0. So that sets up undefeated, 3:30 game on CBS. So I think that's 5-1, 6-1 with Martin. Anytime Kentucky comes to Neyland, it feels like Tennessee's always got the advantage. So I'm gonna go 7-1. I think until you can beat Georgia in Athens, I'm going to pick Georgia. So that's 7-2. Y'all handle Missouri, South Carolina, and Vandy. So I've got 10-2 regular season for Tennessee.
Goodness, Mike, listen, Mike. That's 2 guests. We're 2-0 with guests picking Tennessee to go 10-2. JP, take 60 seconds here. Give me an outsider's perception on Hendon Hooker.
I think he's basically Josh Dobbs 2.0, maybe a little bit better passer, not as good in the run, because I think he wants to pass more than Dobbs did. If he can increase his accuracy on downfield passing, especially to wide open receivers, and develop some kind of bond with some receivers, I think, you're looking at a guy that's going to challenge a lot of defenses. I will say if he gets hurt, that 10-2 changes for me
to 6-6 real fast.
Yeah. But I really think that, you have, as long as you can protect him and establish a running game, some sort of a running game. But your offense is based on efficiency. If you cannot be efficient, you're going to struggle in a lot of football games. You may win them, but you're going to struggle. If you're an efficient team, completing your short, 5-yard passes, opening up play action, getting out of the pocket, doing stuff with your legs, it's a challenge for a defensive coordinator, especially in this day and age. I think a lot of it's going to be is the defense. Is the opposing defense going to be able to play man against your receivers and have an extra guy in the box for him, or are you going to be able to complete enough downfield passes to stretch the defense and let Hooker get one-on-one with a linebacker that he's clearly more athletic than? I think that's really going to be a big part of your offense.
Okay. Well, good stuff. JP, my man, I appreciate you coming on, spending your time and your day with us away from your family and hanging out with some Tennessee fans. It's been a long time since I've seen your pretty face, man.
Hey, you are more beautiful than I remember. It's like staring into the eyes of a small child that has blossomed into this great man.
Well, hey, that's going guys, on the internet.
It should, guys. Congrats on your podcast. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have me back.
Yeah, man.
And,
absolutely.
Look forward to
so
it.
As of right now, we had a really great experience with you and Ryan. I fully expect Georgia and Alabama to be in Atlanta for the SEC. So our plan is to bring y'all both on at the same time and had a little conflict and a little banter back and forth. So fully expect that. But anyway, that is going to wrap up our time together. Thanks for tuning in to Pandemonium Reigns. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, hit all the buttons. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your maws and your paws, and everybody cousins up in Alabama. JP, we appreciate you, my man. I'm Dan. Oh, God, there it is again. Ryan this with the Go Dogs. I'm Dan.
Had to sneak it in, you know?
I'm Dan. He's Mike. We love you guys. Have a great day. Go Vawls!
Pandemonium Reigns.